My son attacked me just because the soup had no salt. The next morning, he said, my wife is coming for lunch. Hide everything and smile. Then he went to work, and the moment he stepped into his boss's office, he went pale as chalk. What if the person you loved most, the child you sacrificed everything for, became your greatest tormentor? Just last night, my own son, the boy I poured my life into, left me bleeding on my kitchen floor, all because a bowl of soup wasn't salty enough. I'm Monica, and I'm 61 years old. As I lay there, crumpled on the kitchen floor, wiping my own blood with a worn-out rag, he just walked away. Calmly. Closed his door. Fell asleep. Like hitting his own mother was the most natural thing in the world. Like I was just a minor inconvenience. This morning, I woke up with my whole body screaming. Bruises bloomed across my arms, and a cut on my lip throbbed with every word I tried to speak. But the physical pain, that was nothing. What truly burned, what twisted my gut, was the humiliation. It was the crushing weight of knowing my own son, the one I raised with every ounce of love I possessed, saw me as nothing more than his personal maid. My only purpose, it seemed, was to serve him and keep my mouth shut. I was up at 5 a.m., just like always. Ethan was already in the kitchen, sitting at the table in his impeccably tailored gray suit, engrossed in his phone. He didn't even glance up as I walked in. Just a flat, emotionless voice, breakfast. Hurry up. Important meeting. It was as if the night before, the screaming, the insults, worthless, useless, I'd throw you out on the street if you weren't my mother, had never happened. I prepared his scrambled eggs, exactly 3 spoonfuls of shredded cheese, 2 slices of toast, black coffee, no sugar. Everything had to be perfect, measured down to the last grain. Because if anything at all, was even slightly off, he'd explode. And when Ethan exploded, I was the one who paid the price. Mid-breakfast, the click of the front door. Savannah, his wife, floated in. Young, elegant, always with that fake smile. She moved like she owned the place, which, in a way, she did through him. She kissed Ethan's cheek, then turned to me, her voice a sickly sweet melody she reserved for when he was around. Good morning, Mrs. Davis. How are you this morning? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her. I woke up bruised by your husband. My back is a canvas of purple and black. I can't take it anymore. But instead, I just smiled, a tight, painful stretch of my lips. I'm fine, thank you. Would you like some breakfast, Savannah? Ethan's eyes, cold and sharp, darted to mine. One wrong word, and tonight will be worse, they warned. Then, he plastered on that artificial smile he used for an audience. Look, Mom, I bought you this new makeup. It's perfect for covering those little scrapes you got when you tripped last night. Little scrapes, that's what he called it, as if I'd accidentally fallen on his fist. I took the expensive foundation, probably bought with my own retirement money, because he managed all my finances, for my own good, of course. I hadn't seen a penny of my pension in 2 years. Savannah was gazing at him, eyes wide with admiration. You're so thoughtful, honey, always taking care of your mom. If only she knew. If only she knew her perfect executive husband came home every night just to unleash his frustrations on me. After breakfast, Ethan put on his red tie, grabbed his briefcase, and leaned in, whispering in my ear while Savannah was touching up her makeup. Remember what we talked about last night? If you ever open your mouth, if you tell anyone what happens here, you're going to regret it. No one will believe you. You're just a crazy old woman living off her son's charity. His words were ice in my veins. They walked out, hand in hand, the picture of a perfect couple, disappearing into his new black sedan. A car that cost a fortune, bought with my money. When the house fell silent, I sank into a kitchen chair. And I cried. Not tears of sadness, but of pure, burning rage. And helplessness. Because I knew I had to do something, but the what and the how were a terrifying blank. This house, my sanctuary for 30 years, bought with 40 years of being an executive secretary, getting up at 5 a.m., always on time. Now it was my prison. It all started 3 years ago. Ethan's first marriage fell apart, and he showed up at my door, a suitcase in hand. That lost boy look he knew always melted my heart. Mom, I need to stay here for a while, just until I sort out my financial situation. The divorce left me bankrupt. And like the foolish mother I've always been, I opened my door, my heart, my everything. Of course, son, this is your home. How naive. I invited the devil right in. The first few months were deceptively normal. He'd go to work, we'd eat dinner, he even helped with groceries. I thought, finally, the mother-son relationship I always dreamed of, but it was a slow poison. First, the subtle digs. Mom, this food is too salty. Why don't you clean the bathroom better? Your clothes are wrinkled, it's embarrassing. They stung, but I told myself he was stressed. Then came the help with my finances. Mom, at your age, handling so much cash is dangerous. Let me help you. And like an idiot, I gave him access to my bank account. He's my son. He'd never hurt me. I couldn't have been more wrong. Within 6 months, he completely taken over. My $1,200 monthly pension went straight into his account. He gave me $20 a week for personal expenses. An allowance, like I was a child. When I asked about the rest, he'd say, Mom, I'm investing your savings to help them grow. Trust me. Then Savannah arrived, 25 years younger, a perfect smile, and ambition radiating off her. They met at his office, married 6 months later in a $100,000 ceremony. My money, of course. Once Savannah was in the picture, everything became worse. I wasn't his mother, I was the housekeeper. Mom, make something elegant for dinner. Savannah's used to fine things. Mom, clean the guest bathroom. Important people are coming. Mom, wash the shirt by hand. It's too expensive for the machine. And I obeyed. I was terrified. Terrified he'd throw me out of my own home because he'd even convinced me to put his name on the deed for security. The physical violence started a year ago. Accidental pushes at first, then pinches when I didn't do something exactly as he wanted. You're driving me crazy, Mom. You're too slow. Then it escalated. Hits to my shoulder, slaps if the food wasn't right, punches to my back if I wasn't cleaning fast enough. But last night he crossed a line I never imagined he would. It was vegetable soup. Light meal Tuesday night. I set the table carefully, served the bread, the hot soup. Everything seemed perfect. Ethan came home, tired, sat down without a word, took a spoonful, and his face twisted. What the hell is this? He roared, spitting the soup back into the bowl. It has no salt. It's as bland as water. I rushed to apologize. I'm sorry, son, I forgot. Let me add some. But it was too late. He sprang up like a wild animal, grabbed the bowl, and threw it right in my face. The hot liquid scalded my cheek. Pieces of porcelain cut my lip. You're useless, he screamed, grabbing my arm so hard I knew it would bruise. 40 years as a secretary, and you can't even make a decent soup. You're pathetic. He shoved me against the kitchen wall. My head slammed against the tile, and for a second, the world went white. But he wasn't done. He slapped me, so hard my ear buzzed for hours. Then another, and another. Savannah's bringing her friends over for lunch tomorrow, he snarled as I covered my face with my hands. You better make something special. Something perfect. Because if you make me look bad, if you show even one sign of how pathetic you are, I swear to God, I'll kick you out of his house. Then, just like always, he calmed down. He bent down, helped me up, wiped the blood from my lip with a napkin. I'm sorry, Mom, he said, his voice sickeningly soft. I just get so frustrated seeing you like this. I know you can do better. It's all for your own good, so you'll learn. And he went to sleep peacefully, as if nothing had happened. I stayed awake all night in that kitchen, cleaning up the mess, every shard of porcelain feeling like a fragment of my own dignity. My lips still bled, but it wasn't just the physical pain now. It was a darker, deeper realization. My own son, the person I loved most, had become my tormentor. I kept thinking about how he got here. He wasn't always this way. When he was a boy, sweet, affectionate. His father left when he was 8, and it was just us against the world. I worked double shifts, put him in the best private schools, bought him designer clothes, piano lessons, English lessons. Everything he asked for. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I spoiled him so much he never learned respect, effort, real love. I gave him everything on a silver platter. And now, 35 years later, I was paying the price. At dawn, I heard his footsteps. My heart always leaped into my throat when he was near. He came into the kitchen, already in his black suit, scrolling his phone. This time, he didn't even ask for breakfast. He just sat waiting. I served his eggs, his coffee, his toast, in absolute silence. He ate, answering emails, as if I were invisible. At 7:30, Savannah arrived, radiant in a tight yellow dress, her high heels echoing like hammer blows. Good morning, Mrs. Davis, she chirped, that plastic smile firmly in place. How are you feeling today? Fine, thank you, I lied. As I poured her coffee, I saw her eyes flick to my swollen lip, the bruise peeking from my collar. For a moment, I thought she might say something, ask. But she just looked away, back to her phone. Ethan finished, then stared at me. Remember what I told you last night, Mom? Savannah is bringing 3 friends over for lunch. Seafood pasta, Caesar salad, desserts. Buy some white wine, the good stuff, not that cheap garbage. He handed me 3 $20 bills. $60. For an elaborate lunch for 5. He spent that on a single shirt. And one more thing. He leaned in, whispering so Savannah wouldn't hear. Put on that makeup. Cover those marks well. If any of her friends ask anything, if they make any comment about your appearance, you're going to regret it. Do you understand? I nodded, my hands trembling. He smiled, kissed my forehead like the perfect sun, and they left. The door closed, and I collapsed into a kitchen chair. $60. Fresh seafood alone would be $30 a pound. The good wine, another $20. How was I supposed to work miracles? But it wasn't just the money. It was the pressure of having to pretend to be the happy mother-in-law of a perfect family, while I was an abused woman trapped in my own home. I looked in the bathroom mirror. My lip was swollen and purple, a small cut at the corner. My eyes were red from crying. A dark bruise spread across my neck. I opened the expensive foundation. I started applying it, carefully, meticulously, covering every mark, every bruise, every piece of evidence of what truly happened in this house. How many mornings had I done this? Invented excuses about falls and accidents. I tripped on the table. The closet door slipped. I fell down the stairs. Lie after lie, all to protect his reputation. I went to the supermarket, list in hand, face perfectly made up. I stretched those $60 as far as they could go, frozen shrimp instead of fresh, the cheapest decent wine, pasta on sale. Every penny counted. As I waited in line, Clarice, my next-door neighbor, a kind widow in her 60s, approached me. "Hello, Monica," she said, her smile warm. "How are you, dear? Haven't seen you in the yard." "Hello, Clarice. I'm fine, thanks. Just busy." Her eyes, so genuinely concerned, lingered on my lip, despite the makeup. "Did you hurt your mouth?" she asked. My heart hammered. "No, it's nothing," I lied. "Just bumped into the closet door. You know how clumsy I am." Clarice frowned, but didn't push. "Well, if you ever need anything, you know where I live. I'm always home in the afternoons." Her words hit me like a wave. It had been so long since anyone had offered genuine help, genuine kindness. For a moment, I wanted to tell her everything, to beg for help, confess the nightmare. But Ethan's voice echoed in my head. Asterisk, no one will believe you. You're just a crazy old woman. Asterisk, thank you, Clarice. You're very kind. Back home, I cooked like a madwoman. Everything had to be ready by noon. I cleaned the house, set the table with the good china, arranged flowers. As I cooked, Clarice's words haunted me. Asterisk, did she suspect something? Had she heard the screaming? Asterisk, at 11:30, my phone rang. An unknown number. "Mrs. Davis," a man's voice asked. "Yes, this is she. This is the accountant from your son Ethan's company. We need to speak with you urgently about some discrepancies in the accounts." My heart stopped. Discrepancies? Why me? "I'd rather not discuss this over the phone, Mrs. Davis. Can you come at 3 this afternoon? It's very important." I hung up, trembling. What could Ethan have done? But I had no more time to think. Savannah and her friends were arriving. The doorbell rang exactly at noon. I took a deep breath, touched up my makeup, and opened the door. Savannah and 3 women, dressed like they were going to a fashion show. "Hello, Mrs. Davis," Savannah chirped. "Let me introduce you. Beatrice, Human Resources, Brenda, Marketing, and Evelyn from Legal." My heart nearly stopped. Evelyn. Evelyn Brooks, my younger sister. I hadn't seen her in 2 years. Evelyn's eyes met mine, mirroring my surprise, but we both played it cool. She'd always been smarter, more cunning. She immediately sensed something was off, seeing my made-up face, my nervous demeanor. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Davis," she said formally, as if she didn't know me. "Your daughter-in-law has told us so much about you." I led them to the dining room, where my mother's china and crystal glasses shone. Everything was elegant, just as Ethan had demanded. I served lunch, trying to keep my hands steady. The shrimp pasta was surprisingly good, despite the budget. The women talked about work, their lives. I went back and forth, serving wine, clearing plates, the perfect hostess. But Evelyn's eyes never left me. I knew that look, the same one she'd used as a kid when she knew I was hiding something. "The food is delicious," Beatrice commented. "Did you cook it all yourself?" "Yes, I love to cook," I replied, a forced smile. "It's a pleasure when it's for such lovely people." "How lucky Ethan is to have such a dedicated mother-in-law," Brenda added. "It's rare to find women so devoted to the home these days." Savannah beamed. "It's true. Mrs. Davis always takes care of everything. It's like having a housekeeper, but better, because she does it with love." Her words were daggers. A housekeeper. Not a mother, not a person with dignity, but a free servant. Evelyn cleared her throat. And what did you do before, Mrs. Davis? Were you always a homemaker? I paused, a flicker of forgotten pride. I worked for 40 years as an executive secretary at Sullivan & Associates. I retired 3 years ago. Evelyn's eyes lit up. Sullivan & Associates, one of the most prestigious law firms in the city, where she'd interned. How interesting, she exclaimed. I know that firm. You must have met a lot of important people. I did, I said, a more genuine smile finally breaking through. Judges, prosecutors, big lawyers. I even helped with some major cases. Mr. Sullivan always said I was indispensable. Savannah looked uncomfortable. She didn't like me being the center of attention. She quickly changed the subject. Well, but now Mrs. Davis is retired and enjoying her well-deserved rest, she said, that fake smile back. Ethan takes care of everything. Her finances, her needs. He's such a responsible son. Evelyn looked at me intently when Savannah said that. I knew she found those words strange. A woman with 40 years at a major law firm didn't need her son to handle her finances. The lunch continued with trivial chatter, but the tension was palpable. Evelyn kept watching me. When I went to the kitchen for dessert, she followed. Do you need any help? She asked, but her eyes pleaded for a moment alone. No thanks. Everything's under control, I replied, avoiding her gaze. Monica, she said, using my real name for the first time. Are you okay? You seem different. For a split second, all my defenses crumbled. I wanted to hug her, tell her everything, beg for help. But then, I heard Ethan's keys in the front door. He was home early. Everything's fine, Evelyn, I said quickly. Just a little tired. Ethan strode into the dining room, his perfect smile in place. He greeted the women elegantly, kissed Savannah, and looked at me with approval. The lunch had gone well. How are the most beautiful ladies from the office doing? He oozed. I hope my mother took good care of you. Excellently, Beatrice replied. Your mother is charming. Ethan put his hand on my shoulder and I tensed. He felt it and squeezed, a silent warning. She's the best mother in the world, he said, his fingers digging into my shoulder. Always looking out for everyone, always sacrificing herself for the family. The women began to leave. Evelyn was the last. Before she walked out, she took my hand. It was a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Davis, she said loudly for Ethan to hear. Then, she whispered in my ear, we'll see each other soon. When they were all gone, Ethan slammed the door shut. The mask fell. He was the monster again. You did well, he said coldly. For once, you didn't embarrass me. It wasn't a compliment. It was a confirmation that I had fulfilled my duty as a servant. As I cleared the dishes, he went to his room, but not before another chilling reminder. By the way, the technician is coming tomorrow to check your computer. He says you've been browsing some strange websites. My blood ran cold. I didn't have my own computer. I only used his, and the strange websites I'd looked up lately were about domestic abuse, shelters for battered women, helplines. He knew. He knew I was looking for help. Just then, my phone rang again. The accountant. Mrs. Davis, can you come in at 3 this afternoon? It's urgent. I looked at the clock. 2:15 p.m. Ethan was in his room, probably napping. This was my chance. Yes, I said in a low voice. I'll be there. I grabbed my keys, my purse, and quietly I left that house. I didn't know what waited for me at that office, but I had a feeling my life was about to change forever. As I walked toward the bus stop, Evelyn's words echoed. We'll see each other soon. My sister had noticed something. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a small, fragile spark of hope. Ethan's office building was one of those modern skyscrapers downtown, all glass and steel imposing. I'd never been there. He always kept his work life completely separate from me, like a secret. I went up to the 18th floor. The receptionist directed me to Mr. Castillo, the general accountant. My heart hammered. Mr. Castillo, a man in his 50s with glasses, greeted me. Mrs. Davis, we need to ask you some questions about your bank account. Specifically, some movements we've detected. What does my account have to do with the company? I stammered. Adrian looked at me with pity. Mrs. Davis, we've discovered your son, Ethan, has been using company funds to make transfers to your personal bank account. Transfers that are then immediately withdrawn. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. That can't be true. Ethan is exemplary. I'm afraid he has, Adrian said, showing me documents. In the last 6 months, he's diverted over $50,000 of corporate funds. It appears in his personal account, then immediately to the account he shares with you. My world collapsed. $50,000. He wasn't just abusing me. He was using me as an unwitting accomplice in his thefts. But I didn't know anything. I cried. He manages my entire bank account. I don't authorize transfers. We know, Adrian said gently. That's why I called you before proceeding legally. We need you to file a formal complaint for the misuse of your bank account. It's the only way to clear your name. I felt nauseous. A victim of domestic violence, now a victim of financial fraud, made an accomplice by my own son. What will happen to Ethan? I asked, though I already knew. If you file the complaint, he will be arrested for corporate fund embezzlement and fraudulent use of bank accounts. Serious crimes. 5 to 10 years in prison. I left that office in a daze. I walked downtown for hours, numb, trying to process it. My son was a thief, a criminal, and I had been his unwitting tool. When I finally got home, it was 6 p.m. Ethan was in the living room. Where have you been? He demanded, his voice accusatory. The house was a mess after lunch. For the first time in years, I looked him directly in the eyes. I was at your office. His expression instantly changed. The mask cracked. Fear flickered. What did you say? I was at your office, Ethan. I spoke with the accountant. I know what you've been doing. He rose slowly from the couch, like a predator. I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. You're confused. $50,000, I said, my voice growing steadier. $50,000 you've stolen from your company using my bank account. He advanced, but this time I didn't shrink back. Something had shifted in me. Maybe it was knowing I wasn't alone. Listen to me, you stupid old woman, he hissed, his voice low and menacing. You have no idea what you're saying. That money is mine by right. You owe me for everything I've invested in you, the food, the roof over your head, the clothes. With my own money. I shot back. My pension, my savings, the money I earned working for 40 years. He grabbed my arm. But this time I screamed. Let go of me. I screamed with all the strength I had. He was so startled he actually released me. For 3 years, I had been his silent victim. Now I was screaming. You're crazy, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. No one will believe you. You're a senile old woman. The accountant believed me, I said. The documents speak for themselves. The transfers are registered. Everything is documented. Ethan was silent for a few seconds, processing. Then his expression hardened. If you open your mouth, if you file any kind of complaint, I swear I'll destroy you. This house is also in my name. I can kick you out on the street tomorrow, and without my help, you'll die alone like a dog. But for the first time, his threats didn't terrify me. A new strength bloomed inside me. I'm not afraid of you anymore, Ethan, I told him. And as I said it, I realized it was true. He raised his hand to strike me, but just then, the doorbell rang. It was Clarice. Monica, she called from outside. Monica, is everything all right? I heard screaming. Ethan slowly lowered his hand. He couldn't hit me with a witness. His reputation was too important. Go see what she wants, he ground out. And you better not say anything strange. I went to the door, my legs trembling. Clarice stood there, worried, holding a casserole dish. Hello, dear, she said. I brought you some stew, but I heard loud voices and got worried. Over her shoulder, I saw another woman. Evelyn. Casual clothes, hair tied back, but it was her. Hello, Evelyn said, feigning unfamiliarity. I'm new to the neighborhood and was just visiting Mrs. Davis. I hope we're not bothering you. Ethan appeared behind me, his fake smile back on. No problem at all, ladies. My mother was a little worked up because she burned the dinner. You know how older women get about these things. Clarice looked at him, an unreadable expression on her face. Right, she said. Well, Monica, here's the food, and remember, if you need anything at all, I'm right next door. Evelyn looked me directly in the eyes. Yes, Mrs. Davis. Anything you need, day or night. When they left, Ethan slammed the door shut. Damn nosy old women, he muttered. But this isn't over. Tomorrow we're going to the bank, and you're going to sign all the papers I tell you to. You're going to retract the complaint you probably already filed, and you're going to say it was all a big misunderstanding. No, I said simply. What do you mean, no? I'm not going to sign anything. I'm not going to retract any complaint. And I'm not going to be an accomplice in your thefts anymore. Ethan looked at me with a rage I had never seen. All his masks were gone. Fine, he said, with a terrifying calm. If that's how you want to play, we'll play. But I'm warning you. When I'm done with you, you're going to wish you were never born. I didn't sleep that night. Ethan was locked in his room, talking on the phone for hours. I knew he was planning something terrible. At 3 a.m., I heard a strange noise in the yard. I peeked out the window and saw Clarice setting something up near my window. The next day, I realized what she'd done. A small security camera hidden among the plants. My neighbor knew something bad was happening. She was documenting everything. The next day dawned gray and rainy, mirroring the storm in my life. Ethan was up early at 5 a.m. I heard him moving, talking softly on the phone. When I went down, he was in his best suit, perfectly combed, impeccably tied. The successful executive. "Good morning, Mom," he said, his voice strangely sweet, almost sing-song. It gave me goosebumps. I knew that sweetness meant he was planning something terrible. "Yes," I lied, serving his coffee. "Good," he said, smiling, but his eyes were cold. "Because today is going to be a very special day. I've been thinking about our conversation. You're right. Maybe I've been too hard on you. You're my mother. You deserve respect." His words completely disoriented me. Ethan, admitting fault? It was a trap. "That's why," he continued, spreading butter on his toast. "We're going to the bank together today. We're going to clear up this whole misunderstanding. You're going to explain that you authorized all the transfers, that you knew exactly what was happening. There it was, the real reason for the fake kindness." "I'm not going to do that, Ethan," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. His smile slowly faded. "Of course you are, Mom. Because if you don't, some very unpleasant things are going to happen." "Are you threatening me?" "No, Mom," he said, finishing his coffee. "I'm explaining reality. Look around you. This house, this table, your bed, your food. All of this is possible because I allow it. And if I don't allow it anymore," he left the sentence hanging, the message clear, he would leave me on the street. "Also," he added, pulling out his phone, "I've been thinking about calling some doctors. Doctors who specialize in older people with mental problems, like senile dementia. You know, it's very sad when mothers start making up stories, accusing their own sons of terrible things." My blood ran cold. Not only would he kick me out, but he'd have me declared insane, incompetent. So no one would believe me. "There are several witnesses who can confirm your deteriorated mental state," he continued, that cold, calculating voice. "Savannah, for example. I just told her yesterday how confused you've been lately. The friends who came to lunch also noticed something strange about you." It was a lie, but he was so convincing. For a moment, I doubted my own sanity. That's how his manipulation worked. "So, we're going to the bank at 10 a.m., he said, getting up. "You're going to put on your best dress. You're going to get all fixed up, and you're going to smile while you sign all the papers. Understand?" I didn't answer. I just started collecting dishes, trying to buy time. "I'm talking to you," he shouted, the fake kindness gone. "Understood. Understood," I mumbled, hating myself for being such a coward. He went to his office, warning me, "Don't even think about leaving. Don't think about talking on the phone. I'll be back at 9:30 to take you." As soon as the door closed, I collapsed. Tears of pure rage. Rage against him, but mostly rage against myself. I lay there for a few minutes until a soft knock at the back door. "Clarice, urgent. Monica, open up fast. It's important." I opened the door. She slipped in, looking around to make sure we were alone. "I heard everything," she said without preamble. "I have a camera set up near your kitchen window. I recorded your whole conversation. The threats, the blackmail, the way he talked to you. I have evidence he's forcing you to lie about the stolen money." For the first time in days, hope surged. "What can we do?" Clarice smiled. "I have a friend who works at the DA's office. Her name is Brenda. She specializes in domestic abuse and financial fraud. But I need you to come with me right now." "I can't," I said, fear gripping me again. "Ethan told me not to leave. If he finds out—" "Monica," Clarice said, taking my hands, "listen. If you go to that bank today and sign those papers, your son will be free. He'll keep stealing, he'll keep abusing you. And on top of that, you'll be considered a willing accomplice in his thefts." She was right. I'd lose my dignity and become a criminal. "But if I don't go," I said, my voice trembling, "he'll kick me out. He'll say I'm crazy." "He won't be able to do any of that," Clarice interrupted, "because we're going to present the evidence before he can act. Brenda told me that with these recordings, they can arrest him immediately." I looked at the clock. 8:30 a.m. Ethan would be back in an hour. "Are you sure your friend can help me?" "Completely sure. But we have to go now, Monica. It's our only chance." I made a decision that would change my life forever. I grabbed my purse, my important documents, and left that house with Clarice. As we walked to her car, I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Courage. For the first time, I was taking control. The district attorney's office was a typical government building. Brenda was a woman in her 40s with an intelligent gaze. Mrs. Davis, she said, after reviewing Clarice's recordings. What your son is doing constitutes multiple crimes: domestic abuse, financial fraud, blackmail, and attempted obstruction of justice. What does that mean? It means we can arrest him today, Brenda replied. But I need you to file a formal complaint. Are you willing? I looked at the clock. 9:15 a.m. In 15 minutes, Ethan would be home. His rage would be uncontrollable. Yes, I said, my voice firm. I'm ready to file the complaint. Brenda smiled. Perfect. While you fill out the papers, I'll coordinate with the police to have them arrest your son. Do you know where he is? He should be arriving at my house, I said. He said he'd pick me up at 9:30. Even better, Brenda said, grabbing her phone. Easier to arrest him at a known location. Clarice stayed with me, holding my hand. Are you sure about this, Monica? She asked. Once you sign these papers, there's no turning back. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, I replied. At 10:30, Brenda's phone rang. The police confirmed Ethan's arrest at my house. He was screaming, breaking things, looking for me. He's in custody, Brenda told me. The charges are serious. Very likely he won't get bail. A 1,000-pound weight lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in 3 years, I knew I would sleep without fear. When we returned to my house that afternoon, it looked like a battlefield. Ethan had destroyed almost everything before the police arrested him. Torn couch cushions, broken dishes, shattered family photos. My God, Clarice whispered. How could he do all this? I knew Ethan's blind fury. Brenda, documenting the damage, said, This is additional evidence of his violent behavior. The judge will see exactly what kind of person your son is. My phone started ringing. An unknown number. Don't answer it, Brenda warned. It's probably him from jail. Let it go to voicemail. Indeed, it was Ethan's voice, but completely different. No longer the monster. It was a scared child, manipulative. Mom, his voice broke in the recording. Mom, please come get me out of here. It was all a misunderstanding. I never meant to hurt you. You know I love you. You're the most important thing in my life. Please, Mom, don't let me rot in this jail. I'm your son. Your only son. 5 similar messages, each more desperate. The last one, he was crying. It's part of his manipulation strategy, Brenda explained. First, violence and threats, now victimhood and guilt. Typical abuser pattern. Even though I understood, hearing him cry broke my heart. For 35 years, he had been my baby, my reason for living. It was hard to separate the monster from the boy he once was. Are you okay? Clarice asked. It's complicated, I admitted. I know I did the right thing, but he's still my son. That night, Clarice insisted I stay at her house. Your house isn't safe. Ethan has friends, maybe Savannah. Someone might come looking for revenge. She was right. For the first time in 3 years, I went to bed without fear. No Ethan's footsteps, no screaming, no punches. Peace. It was a strange, almost unsettling feeling because I wasn't used to it. The next day, Brenda called. Ethan's bail hearing is today at 2 p.m. Your testimony will be crucial. The fear returned. The hearing was in a small courtroom. Ethan sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit. When he saw me, his expression twisted into pure, contained rage. Savannah was there, elegantly dressed, but haggard. When our eyes met, I saw something surprising in hers, shame. The judge, an older man, serious but fair, looked at me. Mrs. Davis, tell me in your own words what you have been living through. I took a deep breath. I told them everything. The beatings, the financial control, the threats, the constant humiliation. My voice broke, but I kept going. When I mentioned the $50,000 he stole, Ethan tensed. His lawyer tried to object, but the judge silenced him. And what did your son tell you yesterday morning regarding your testimony? The judge asked. He threatened to have me declared mentally incompetent if I didn't lie for him. He said he would kick me out, that I would be left with nothing. The judge reviewed Clarice's recordings. He listened with headphones, the courtroom silent. Mr. Ethan Davis, the judge said, the evidence shows a clear pattern of domestic abuse, financial fraud, and witness intimidation. Considering the seriousness of the charges and the risk you pose to the victim, your request for bail is denied. You will remain in custody. Ethan exploded. This is an injustice. That crazy old woman is making everything up. I'm a respectable citizen. I have rights. Guards held him. You're going to regret this, Mom. When I get out of here, I'm going to make you pay for every day I spend in this jail. His threats echoed, confirming my testimony. After the hearing, Savannah approached me. Mrs. Davis, she said, voice trembling. I need to talk to you. Brenda and Clarice tensed, but I motioned that I was okay. What do you want, Savannah? I want to apologize, she said, her voice genuine for the first time. I knew something wasn't right. I heard screaming. I saw your bruises. I noticed how you flinched. But I was scared. Ethan threatened me too. He said he would destroy my career, my reputation. I was a coward. I let you suffer alone because I was afraid of losing my comfortable life. Her eyes filled with tears. When they arrested him, I found documents in his home office. He hadn't just been stealing from his company. He'd been stealing from my personal account too. We've been married 2 years, and I never realized he was a fraudster. What are you going to do? I asked. I'm filing for divorce immediately, she said with determination. And I'm going to testify against him. I've already spoken with a lawyer. I want to collaborate with the DA's office to make him pay for everything he did to us. Leaving the courthouse, I felt genuine hope. Not only had I escaped, but I had allies. That afternoon, Brenda gave me more good news. The company where Ethan worked wants to reach an agreement. They're willing to not press additional charges against you if you cooperate by returning the stolen money. And, as an acknowledgement that you were a victim of fraud, they're going to pay you $20,000 in compensation. It was more money than I'd had in 3 years. What about my house? I asked. Ethan said it was in his name. We checked the documents, Brenda smiled. Your son lied. The deed is still only in your name. He forged some papers, but legally, the house is completely yours. For the first time in a long time, I saw a possible future. A future without fear, where I could make my own decisions, where I was the owner of my own life. But I also knew Ethan wouldn't give up easily. His threats at the hearing were clear. This war was just beginning. 3 weeks after Ethan's arrest, my life had changed, but not entirely as I expected. I was physically safe at Clarice's, but psychologically, I was still his prisoner. Paranoia kept me awake. Every noise, every car stopping, every unknown call triggered a panic attack. Brenda explained it was PTSD. Your mind and body are used to living in a constant state of alert. It's going to take time to heal. But there was more than trauma. Ethan was getting messages to me from jail. Messages that chilled me to the bone. The first came through a different lawyer. A handwritten letter. Dear Mom, it read, I hope you're enjoying your little victory. I hope you feel very brave for betraying me. But I want you to know something. This isn't over. I know things about you that no one else knows. Secrets you kept for 40 years, working at that law firm. Things that could ruin not only your reputation, but your freedom. My heart stopped. What secrets? During my 40 years, I handled confidential info, but nothing illegal. Remember the case of Williams versus the state, Mom? The one from 15 years ago. I found the documents you hid, the ones you altered to help Mr. Sullivan win that multi-million-dollar case. Documents that, if they come to light, could send you to prison for obstruction of justice. My hands trembled violently. I vaguely remember the Williams case. A pharmaceutical company accused of concealing fatal side effects. Mr. Sullivan had asked me to reorganize documents to remove certain memos. I thought it was normal. I never understood the legal implications. But Ethan was right. I had technically altered evidence. I have copies of everything, Mom. And if you don't drop the charges against me, if you don't come and publicly apologize for your lies, those documents are going to end up in the DA's hands. Imagine the headlines. 61-year-old secretary arrested for complicity in covering up drug deaths. The rest of the letter detailed how he would destroy me. Media contacts, journalists, my photo in every paper. Clarice found me, crying with the letter. She immediately called Brenda. This is clear blackmail, Brenda said. But we need to know if his threats have any basis. What do you remember about the Williams case? I told her everything, including Mr. Sullivan's instructions. Did you know what you were doing could be illegal? She asked. No, I said honestly. I was just following orders. Mr. Sullivan said it was normal procedure. Brenda sighed. Legally, ignorance is no excuse. If you really altered evidence, even without criminal intent, you technically committed a crime. My world collapsed again. Just when I thought I was free, he found another way to control me. What do? I asked desperately. If I drop the charges, he gets out and he'll kill me. If I don't, I go to jail for something I did 15 years ago. First, calm down, Brenda said. Second, we're going to investigate what documents your son has and how he got them. Third, we'll look for ways to minimize the damage if there's evidence against you. The next few days were a legal nightmare. Brenda worked with lawyers specializing in old cases. I lived in terror, waiting for arrest. Clarice was my salvation. She made me chamomile tea, sat with me as I cried, reminding me, we're going to face it together. You're no longer that scared woman. But I felt exactly like that scared woman. Ethan had won. He dragged me back into fear and hopelessness. A week later, the second letter arrived. Even colder. I see you haven't learned your lesson, Mom. I see you still think you can defy me. Fine. Now, everyone is going to find out what kind of person you really are. With it, an envelope of photographs. Photos of documents. Internal memos from Sullivan and Associates, my handwriting in the margins, altered dates, missing pages. These photos are going to be in the newspaper tomorrow night if you don't come and visit me in jail before Friday. You'll come alone, without lawyers, without witnesses, and you'll bring a signed letter asking to drop all charges against me because it was all a misunderstanding caused by your mental deterioration. My mental deterioration. That accusation chilled my blood again. If you don't come, not only will these photos be in the newspapers, but you'll also see the recordings. Recordings? Did you think I didn't know you had cameras? Mom, did you think I was that stupid? I have recordings, too. Recordings of you accepting cash from clients at the firm. Money you never reported as income. Tax evasion. Mom, another 15 years in prison. This wasn't blackmail. This was psychological warfare. Ethan had been planning this for months, years. He had collected evidence, anticipated my rebellion. When Brenda read the second letter, her expression was grim. Monica, I need the complete truth about your time at the firm. Anything irregular, any money you received outside your salary. I told her about the cash Christmas bonuses Mr. Sullivan gave me, money I never declared. I told her about cash tips from grateful clients, money I never reported. How much money are we talking about over 40 years? She asked. Maybe $10,000, I said, ashamed. Brenda quickly calculated. With interest and penalties, we're looking at about $40,000. But the most serious thing is that it's technically tax evasion. My son had built a perfect trap. If I reported him, he'd destroy me with my own mistakes. If I didn't, he'd remain free to abuse and steal. There's a third option, Brenda said, after a long silence. An option neither of you will expect. We get ahead of him. We voluntarily confess all your mistakes before he can use them as blackmail. And we use that confession to show that your son is a master manipulator who exerts psychological control over his victims, even from jail. It was a risky gamble. Publicly admitting crimes, facing consequences, humiliation. But it would take away Ethan's main weapon. If we do this, Brenda continued, your son loses all his power. He can no longer blackmail you because there's nothing left to hide. I looked out the window at my house, still empty, still shattered. That house represented my past, my mistakes, my fears. But it also represented my future, my freedom, my chance to start over. Let's do it, I finally told her. I'm tired of living in fear. I'm tired of my son controlling my life from a jail cell. Brenda smiled. Tomorrow we're going to give Ethan the surprise of his life. The day we decided to fight back arrived quickly. Brenda had organized a press conference for 2 p.m. I would voluntarily confess all my past mistakes. It was risky, but our only chance. That morning, I woke with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. For the first time since Ethan's arrest, I wasn't afraid. I had made a decision, and I felt at peace. Clarice helped me get ready. My serious gray dress, a little makeup to look composed, not to hide. Are you sure about this, Monica? Clarice asked for the 5th time. Once you say those words in public, there's no going back. Completely sure, I replied, surprised by the firmness of my own voice. For 3 years, I lived as a prisoner out of fear of consequences. I'm not going to remain a prisoner of my past mistakes. At noon, Brenda called with unexpected news. Monica, something extraordinary just happened. Raphael Miller, Ethan's boss, wants to talk to you before the press conference. Raphael was the man who discovered Ethan's thefts. I didn't understand why he wanted to talk to me. We met in Brenda's office. Raphael, a man in his 50s with gray hair, rose when I entered. Mrs. Davis, he said, warmly but seriously. First, I want to apologize. If I had supervised Ethan better, if I had paid attention to the red flags, maybe we could have prevented you from suffering so much. His words stunned me. You had no way of knowing. Maybe not, Raphael said. But I did have a way of knowing something strange was going on with the company's finances. Your son's thefts didn't start 6 months ago. They started 2 years ago. My heart stopped. 2 years. 2 years, Raphael confirmed. Small amounts at first, we attributed them to errors. But after your complaint, we discovered he'd been stealing systematically. In total, over $130,000, which went directly to accounts he controlled, including your bank account. I felt nauseous, an unwitting tool in a massive robbery for 2 entire years. But there's more, Raphael continued. When Ethan was arrested, our legal department investigated deeper. He'd been forging reports, manipulating contracts, even selling confidential company information to competitors. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Raphael smiled for the first time. Because we want to offer you a job, Mrs. Davis. During our investigation, we reviewed your work history. 40 years at Sullivan and Associates, impeccable references, experience with complex cases. We need someone with your experience to help us rebuild everything your son destroyed. I couldn't believe it. Instead of public humiliation, a chance to start over. The salary would be $4,000 a month, Raphael continued. Plus health benefits, plus a special compensation of $50,000 as recognition for the damage we unintentionally caused you. $4,000 a month was more than 3 times my pension. $50,000 compensation. My future, suddenly, wasn't hopeless. But there's one condition, Raphael added. We need you to testify at your son's trial. Your testimony will be crucial to ensuring he pays for all his crimes, not just the ones against you. Of course, I said without hesitation. I'll do whatever it takes. At 2 p.m., the press room was packed. Journalists, cameras, microphones. Brenda had invited all the local media. As I sat in front of those cameras, I felt a different kind of fear. Not fear of Ethan, or beatings, or threats. It was the fear of freedom. The fear of being the owner of my own life. My name is Monica Davis. I began, looking directly into the cameras. I'm 61 years old, and for the last 3 years, I have been a victim of domestic violence by my son, Ethan Davis. I told my complete story. The beatings, the financial control, the threats, the systematic theft of my money. But I also told the part Ethan expected me to keep secret. During my 40 years working as a secretary at the law firm of Sullivan and Associates, I made mistakes. I said, my voice growing firmer. Mistakes that I didn't know were illegal at the time, but that I now recognize as such. I explained the Williams case, the altered documents, the unreported money. Everything. I held nothing back. My son discovered these mistakes, and he has been using them to blackmail me from jail. He threatened to publicly expose me if I didn't drop the charges against him. Today, I am here to take that weapon away from him. I would rather face the consequences of my mistakes than continue to be a victim of his manipulation. The room was silent. Journalists furiously scribbled. Cameras recorded every word. I want to send a message to all the women who are being abused by their sons, husbands, or partners, I continued. Emotional blackmail, financial control, threats of exposure, they are all forms of abuse. Don't let the fear of public judgment keep you as a prisoner. Freedom is worth more than reputation. After the press conference, Brenda informed me that the DA's office had decided not to press charges against me for my past mistakes. Your voluntary confession, combined with the fact that you were a victim of blackmail, makes you more useful as a witness than as a defendant. That night, for the first time in months, I returned to sleep in my own house. Clarice insisted on staying with me for the first few nights. As I lay in my own bed, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 3 years, total control over my own life. Ethan was still in jail, facing multiple charges that would likely keep him there for many years. His blackmail had lost all its power because I no longer had any secrets to hide. My phone rang. A number from the jail, but this time, I wasn't afraid to answer. Mom, it was Ethan's voice, completely defeated. I saw your press conference on the news. And what do you think of it? I asked, my voice calm. You destroyed everything, he said, not with anger, but deep sadness. You destroyed my last chance to get out of here. No, Ethan, I replied. You destroyed that chance when you decided to turn your mother into your victim. There was a long silence. Are you ever going to forgive me? He finally asked. Someday, I said. Honestly, when you pay for what you did, when you seek real help to change, when you understand the damage you caused, someday I might be able to forgive you. But I'm never going to forget. I hung up the phone and turned it off. Tomorrow, I would start my new job, my new life. But that night, I just wanted to sleep peacefully in my own home. Without fear, without threats, without blackmail. For the first time in 3 years, I was completely free. And although the path had been painful, although I had faced my own mistakes publicly, and although I had lost the relationship with my son forever, I knew I had made the right decision. Ethan had learned that justice, although slow, eventually arrives. and I had learned that it is never too late to reclaim your own life, no matter how many years you have lived in the shadows. This was my story of liberation. A story I hope inspires other women to break their own chains, no matter who put them there. Have you ever felt trapped by someone you love, or had to make an impossible choice to reclaim your freedom? I want to hear your stories. Share them in the comments below. What would you have done in my shoes?